Hey everybody, we are talking from the wonderful world of widows again. Somebody in Lethbridge decided to buy 240 crickets today. And that somebody wasn't me. That somebody was a jackass. Because now all my girls have to eat hornworms. Yeah, including my sub-adults. But never fear. Far be it from Pecan and Venus to shy away from a challenge. Pecan here had absolutely no problem taking out this one. And as you can see, Venus has done hers in. 6 was having a little bit of problems with hers, but she's doing okay now. Helena had no issues, as usual. But Helena's an angry little thing. Scarlet, my newbie, is doing great. She's gonna get a good feed today. And Toa, our resident Aussie, our Hasselti, is doing fantastic. But she's always been a good hunter. Ivy is struggling. But I think that she'll just take a little break up there and come back down when she's ready. So we're gonna keep an eye on her and just see how things go. We'll check on her every couple of hours. But yeah, some douche tit decided to buy all the crickets in all the pet stores today. So if you live in Lethbridge and you bought that many crickets, fuck you. Like, no holds barred, not gonna even mince words, fuck you. So yeah, I've been getting a lot of questions about my bite, and I've been shying away from the topic because a lot of people in the hobby think that it's not the best thing to talk about. They think that it's gonna make the hobby look bad. I honestly think that it's something that is educational because it explains, you know, a lot of the symptoms of latrodectism, it explains how you get bitten and what happens. So yeah, let's talk about it. Let's not bullshit anymore, you know? So I was bitten by Hasselti. So not this one, but by Hasselti. So I had an Australian. Her name was Tohu. And I had Tohu in a plastic jar. So like a peanut butter jar, kind of. And Tohu liked to make webs on the top of the jar, like in the lid. And I didn't like that because every time I opened the jar, her webs would be right on the top. So I would take the lid off and then she would, you know, I would shake her down and she would kind of fall into the jar. And then I would cut and burn the webs that were in the lid. And what happened was, the one time when I did that, she didn't fall out. So I had shaken her and I shook so vigorously the lid, right? So she's, you know, angry for me shaking it. And I didn't know this, but she was going into a mold, which is why she was making all those webs in the ceiling in the first place. So Tohu climbed onto my thumb right about here, and I actually had people with me at the time. And so I, being slightly arrogant, said to the people that were with me, no, this is okay. She does this all the time. We have an understanding between the two of us. We are kindred spirits. We're mutual, trusting beings, and she trusts me to not hurt her, and I trust her to not hurt me. And we have a bond between us that extends between creatures. And as I was spouting this load of nonsense to them, I started to feel this kind of prick in my finger, in my thumb, right here. And it almost felt like a mosquito was biting me. And it didn't really register that I was being bitten by the spider, because I had turned to address the people who were sitting and watching, right? So I looked, and I was expecting to see another insect, you know, and to, I don't know, catch something really cool, to see my spider, you know, nab a mosquito or something. But I turned and I saw Tohu with her ass in the air, just face down and gnawing right here. And so I don't know if it was the shock itself, or if it was just that I was kind of enamored, or what it was, but I just kind of raised my hand up like this and went, "She's biting me right now." And they were like, "Shut up. No, she's not." And I'm like, "Yeah, she's biting me right now." And I held her up like this, and we all kind of watched for about 3 or 4 seconds as she bit me. And they're like, "Well, get her off, get her off." And I thought to myself, you know, in that moment, because I know that ticks, when ticks are an arachnid, of course, when you take a tick and you rip them off of you when they're biting, their head stays stuck and they become decapitated. And I didn't want for this to happen for 2 reasons. Firstly, because when you decapitate something, you kill it. And secondly, because when you decapitate something, its head stays stuck in you, and the head being stuck in you means that their chelicerae are going to stay stuck in you, which means the venom is going to keep coursing into you. So I just held her up like this, and we watched as she continued to bite me. And when she let me go, I just kind of gently blew her off into her enclosure, and we shut the enclosure, and that was sort of it. And it registered at that point that I had indeed been bitten, because it started to hurt within the next couple of minutes. It swelled up like a balloon. The pain was almost like a burning, kind of searing, like when you scald yourself on something. The best thing that I can compare it to was one time when I was in school and the resource officer came by, and I was trying to hide a cigarette, and she could see the smoke, and so I put it out in my hand. And I remember just feeling it scald my hand, and obviously it's because I was putting out the ember in my skin. But that is probably the closest feeling, the closest sensation that I've known to that. So yeah, that's what I would liken it to, except for the ember, well, quote unquote ember, never goes out. For the next 48 hours, you are going to feel that burning, that stinging, that scalding sensation at the bite area. You're also going to feel this kind of throbbing if you've been bitten on a digit, as opposed to being bitten somewhere larger, like your hand or your arm or somewhere like that. It's obviously going to swell immensely, and with that swelling, you're going to get that throbbing, that, you know, like feeling your heartbeat inside of that small area. It's going to swell huge. Then I would say after about 20 to 30 minutes, I started to feel this weird sensation of, it was like someone had taken those automatic blood pressure cuffs and just taken, I don't know, 30 or 40 of them and lined them up from my wrist all the way to my armpit and had them going off on different times. And so that started. And I called different people. You know, at the time I was speaking to Lou, and I called my friend Bruce. So I talked to both of them, and they said that nothing really serious was going to happen to me. So I just kind of, you know, waited it out. As I was waiting it out, some other bizarre stuff happened. I I felt this wetness in my pants, and I thought that, oh my God, I had lost continence, right? So I went and grabbed a new pair of underwear and a new pair of pants, and I went to change, and when I was changing, I remember my underwear being completely dry, and so I'm like, what the fuck is this, right? And so I smelled my pants, and I was drenched in sweat. It wasn't pee like I thought it was sweat. So I had actually sweated to the point of being completely soaked in it all down my legs, but at the same time I had not sweated on my upper half at all, which was extremely unusual. I didn't end up going to the hospital until about probably somewhere between the 6th and 10th hour. And I did that because I just couldn't handle the pain. I didn't get anti-venom at all. I didn't want anti-venom. The reason that I opted not to get anti-venom was because it's a little known fact that anti-venom actually kills more people than the venom itself. The reason being that a lot of people don't know that they have equine allergies, and we develop anti-venom inside horses. So I opted, of course, not to have anti-venom, and you always want to, avoid getting, more chemicals into you than you should be getting into you, right? And I was in a stage that I felt that this was not a life-threatening thing to me. It was just painful. So I wanted to have just the pain treated. The reason that I decided to just go have the pain treated was because after about, I felt like I could muscle through it, but hour 6 came, and I had sat there, and I had done my little marathon of Full House and whatever, and I was starting to feel so tired, right? Like just exhausted, and I really wanted to sleep, and I took I don't even know how many tranquilizers, and I just could not go to sleep because the pain was that intense. So I ended up, just walking across the street to the hospital, because a lot of people don't know this, but I do live right across the street, like directly across the street from it. So I go across the street, and I go into the emergency room, and after very, 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 very much convincing them that it was indeed an Australian Redback that bit me, they brought me back there. They asked me if I wanted anti-venom. I had to convince them, no, I do not. And then the doctor asked me, well, at the risk of being offensive, why the hell are you here then? So I told him, I just want a nerve block, I'm in pain. So he tells me, oh yeah, totally, I can do that for you. So we ended up, he wanted to freeze me. He decided that it would be best to freeze me right here. So this little knuckle right here, he wanted to put one here and one here. And when he tried to do the first one right here, it was just so painful that I couldn't even handle it. Like, it was just excruciating. So what we ended up doing was putting one at the base of my wrist right here and freezing this whole half of the hand. And it was like instantly, once the pain went away, I don't remember much of anything else until the morning when I woke up around 10 o'clock in that same hospital bed. And I guess they had kept me for observation because I just passed right out. They said that the only thing that was keeping me awake at that point was the pain, and as soon as the pain was gone, I just collapsed right there. So they kept me for observation because I passed right out, right in that hospital bed. So yeah, that's the story of my bite. Obviously I was bitten because I was being a fucking idiot. The second that I got home, I looked at my spider, and she was sitting there right next to a fresh molt. And it was just like, God, it was just the perfect storm, Like, I shook her, and she was molting. She had built this web. I had messed with her. I was being arrogant. I was being stupid. I was obviously handling Electrodectus. So many different reasons and so many different things that you should just not fucking do. So yeah, that is the story of my bite. That is how I got bitten by an Australian Redback. Don't do it. It hurts. It sucks. don't do it. You just don't.